Welcome to the Tech Talks Daily Podcast, where you can learn and be inspired by real-world examples of how technology is transforming businesses and reshaping industries in a language everyone can understand. Here is your host, Neil C. Hughes.
Welcome back to the Tech Talks Daily Podcast. Now, the ongoing trend towards Industry 4.0, coupled with the pressures of the 2020s climate, have accelerated the urgency of artificial intelligence. Industrial organisations, though, are lacking AI expertise. But now more than ever, it's almost becoming a matter of survival. And this is a subject that I wanted to dive a little bit deeper in today, because I wanted to learn more about how it's driving the creation of a new category called industrial AI. And there are so many startups like C3 and legacy industry players like Aveva and AspenTech that are racing to win. Now, in August last year, Aveva acquired an AI company to get a leg up. And Aspen Technologies launched an entirely new business unit, AIoT Hub, to pivot the business and focus entirely towards industrial AI. It's a great story behind it, but I don't want to reveal too many spoilers this early in the podcast, so buckle up and hold on tight, and I will beam your ears all the way to Montreal so we can speak with Fred Bastin from Aspen Technologies. So a massive warm welcome to the show. Can you tell the listeners a little about who you are and what you do?
Sure. So my name is Fred Bastin. I'm based in Montreal, Canada, and I'm a telecom engineer. I spent 20 years in wireless networks, turned entrepreneur in the mid-2000s, and founded an artificial intelligence company. I'm now part of Aspen Technology, where I lead the product management and R&D organizations for a suite of products called AIoT, or Artificial Intelligence of Things.
And I think you're being a little bit modest there, because when I was researching you, the description that I found was that you are a serial entrepreneur and leader who is passionate about innovation and empowering the next generation of entrepreneurs. But I'm curious, where did your passion for technology come from and innovation? Can you remember what lit that spark?
That's a very good question. I always was a techie, and yeah, I've ended up starting two companies and being quite involved with the ecosystem of startups and tech entrepreneurs in Canada and US. So I don't know where the passion comes from. I didn't grow up in a family of technologists or entrepreneurs, but I always kind of like to build things from scratch. So maybe you blame it on playing Legos or other type of construction games. But then throughout my career, I was part of some pretty cool inception projects for companies or products. And I think that inspired me to at some point start my own and basically build something from the ground up.
So from there, how did your path lead to Aspen Technology? Because I feel there's got to be a story there too.
Yeah, sure. I've spent, as I said, 20 plus years in telecommunications that led me to the field of machine to machine, that led me to the Internet of Things and to databases. And in 2012, I co-founded an AI platform company for connected machines and equipment. Our primary markets were we were playing in commercial and industrial verticals with a lot of success, but we also recognized that the big valuable problems were in much heavier industries, like energy and pharma and process manufacturing. And this is precisely where Aspen is a leading provider. So when we started talking in 2018, we saw the fit, and over time we decided to join forces. So we're now part of the Aspen family since summer 2019.
And Aspen Technology is known for creating AI-enabled software that helps the world's leading industrial companies run their operations more safely, efficiently, and reliably. But can you share more about what that means? So just so listeners can understand that are hearing about you for the first time, how all that would work in their world.
Yeah, sure. I mean, and actually we say safer, greener, longer, faster, right? That's those are objectives, and we provide kind of AI-enabled solutions to some very complex industries across their entire life cycle. So to build, operate, and maintain either a plant or an asset within a plant. And the markets that we're having success in targeting are generally around process manufacturing. So you think energy, chemicals, pharma, mines and metal, food and beverage, and those in those industries, you have very complex processes, right? That leverage what we call the first principles of science, so like chemistry and physics. So Aspen has 40 years of expertise in intellectual property and kind of simulating, optimizing these processes, and that's how we get them to be safer, greener, longer, and faster. But then you add AI and machine learning to this, then you have even greater opportunities, right? If you think kind of reducing waste, increasing profitability, reducing downtime, these are all use cases that our customers use our software solutions for. And every year we generate billions of dollars in value for our customers with those solutions.
And I'm curious, have you approached Kanye West yet to do a rendition of Safer, Greener, Longer, Faster? It's dying to happen, surely.
Not yet, but that's actually a good suggestion.
And can you tell me more about the ongoing trend towards Industry 4.0? Because we are hearing about it a lot at the moment, especially coupled with the pressures of the 2020 climate and how it's almost accelerated the urgency of AI, hasn't it?
Yeah, absolutely. And there's huge pressure. And whether we call it Industry 4.0 or something else, I mean, there are so many buzzwords, as you know, right? But the reality down in the trenches and in the boardrooms is that there's huge pressure to be more efficient, to improve margins, to remain competitive, but also to reduce the climate footprint. That's something that, I mean, we've been talking about for a long time, but it's very real today. If you look at the kind of executives that are customers, they look at two KPIs, right? Profitability and sustainability. And how do they do the trade-off and the balance there? So these forces, they all combined, they call for new ways of doing things. And the availability of data is really at the center of the solutions to this. And this is where AI, and as you say the urgency of AI, right? This is where it plays, right? So how do you apply AI in these mission critical industries is the future and kind of part of our vision for the self-optimizing plant, right?
And it's also often said that industrial organisations lack AI expertise. And there's other industries we can throw in there as well. There's, for example, the legal profession. But I'm curious, are excuses like this getting tired now, or even becoming a bit of a cliche? Because I think so many are moving much quicker than those old stereotypes, especially now it's becoming a matter of survival. But is that something that you're seeing?
Oh, I think you're right. We don't witness a lack of AI expertise. They all have data scientists. They all have, maybe they're called differently, right? but they have, our customers have great expertise. We have some customers that have like 700 data scientists, right? So I think the issue is not whether they have the expertise or not, but it's extremely siloed. And typically the collaboration between, I'd say, data science and AI teams and OT organizations, right? Running the plant, collaboration is very minimal. And yes, it's a matter of survival that these two organizations collaborate, work on the same data sets. And those are some of the issues that our product suite is trying to address.
And can you tell me more about how all that is driving the creation of a new category? Like you said, there is a lot of buzzwords out there, but industrial AI is the one that I'm hearing more and more about.
Yeah, industrial AI is clearly, I guess out of all the buzzwords, is the one that we feel describe the challenge and the solutions that we have. And AI is now, I mean, is available. There's a ton of open source, many players. So machine learning is not new. We all know that, but the devil is in the detail, right? And so it's very different to do AI as an offline experiment versus bringing it below the firewall in a mission critical plant to make decisions. And so it's about all these little things that are required to make such an AI model suitable for this environment. And it goes through kind of explainability of the models. It goes through hybrid AI and first science principles. So you can constrain an AI model with laws of physics and chemistry so that you don't blow up the plant. And everything around the security of your AI infrastructure. So that's where we see the difference between just AI to provide you a recommendation for a book online and AI to run a chemical plant process. And we're learning a lot here from Aspen's 40 years of advanced process control expertise, right? Where kind of sustaining an APC agent has been something that Aspen is leader in many years. So we're applying this to machine learning, and that's how we define our industrial AI approach.
And another topic that particularly fascinates me is the difference between quicker moving and more agile startups with legacy companies who are typically have a reputation for being much slower moving and can get caught up in their own processes. But can you tell me more about the different players in the market and the specific AI technical approaches required for Industry 4.0?
Yeah, no, that's very fascinating. I mean, this is what we've benefited from, as in the sense that the building blocks for AI are open source, and the bar is lower than ever to create a new company and some new technology around there. I think the big difference is you have on one side kind of the hyperscalers, the three big cloud providers that expect everything to be in the cloud. They have unmatched AI capabilities, but our customers are not ready to put all of this in a public cloud. So these companies have a harder time coping with what's happening below the firewall inside of a plant. Then you've got startups that there's one new startup every week in this sector. They traditionally miss the domain knowledge. So they have some very, very good pieces of technology. And then the companies like Aspen, we actually have a strategy to both build a lot of technology organically, which we're known for, but also to make acquisitions when we see these startups moving faster in a given field. So I think that's how we differentiate, in the sense that we combine 40 years of strong domain knowledge and expertise with the ability to rapidly make acquisitions when it's needed.
And it really does feel like that there's a big focus on the industry at the moment. I think that's something that's only going to continue, because there's also this big focus on sustainability and building back better is a phrase I always hear at the moment as well. So what are the challenges of the industrial AI category that you're witnessing right now?
Yeah, I think the sustainability is an aspiration and a goal and kind of a mission more than a challenge. But you're right. I mean, I talked about the OT IT gaps, and it's still very real. and I think there's organizational culture change that are needed and that are ongoing in many places to kind of accept that we can share data outside of the plant and use it to make some executive decisions. So all of that is happening. There are obviously challenges around regulation, security, privacy. Those are the classics. But if you look at industries like pharma, if you want AI and industrial AI to drive a pharma process, then what are the implications for FDA and all these other regulations that are very, very key to that industry. And then there's, I think, another challenge here is a little bit of market confusion, right? You mentioned in the previous question about a plethora of startups and the big hyperscalers coming on board. They're all come in and expecting to solve all the issues, but in the end, sometimes it just confuses the operators and customers. So those are the challenges: picking the right solutions, solving the regulation and security issues, and changing your internal culture so you can accept that AI is going to play a role in the decision making.
And is there anything that particularly excites you about this year? Because we did come off a pretty bad year last year that we all want to forget about. And I feel like we all need to focus on the positive sides. Is there anything that particularly excites you?
Yeah, I mean, huge focus on sustainability from our customers. So I mean, for us, it's very exciting. You've seen Aspen has joined the Alliance to End Plastic Waste, and we're doing a number of things in this area. So very interesting for me when execs tell us that profitability and sustainability are their driving KPIs. But yeah, I mean, there's just a transformation of the industry. Maybe COVID has played a little role in realizing that you need to be able to work from anywhere and run plants from anywhere. So that's driving even more the need for the type of solutions we have at Aspen.
And for anyone listening that are hearing about you for the first time and wondering what kind of problems you solve and how it works in their world, is there any use cases that you could possibly leave us with today?
Well, sure. I mean, when you look at, Aspen plays in the entire kind of build, operate, maintain cycle. So we solve problems. If I start with the maintain of prescriptive maintenance and basically being able to predict when an asset or process will fail. But then if you link that and you say, okay, I can link this to my operations and scheduling, and then take actions differently within my planning of the plant operations. So you not only predict the failure, but you actually have ways to mitigate it in planning. And then when you do that in operations, if you use models and twins that were created in the engineering and design phase, you can understand the drift of an asset from the plan to the operation, and then even more optimize your process. So it's all about basically optimizing the end-to-end manufacturing process throughout the life cycle.
And I'm sure we'll have a few people listening that will want to dig a little bit deeper into that subject. And for those people, where's the best way to find you online and also contact you on your team if they do have any additional questions?
Sure. I mean, I'm available on LinkedIn if anyone wants to connect, but more specifically, there's an Aspen Technology AIoT blog and AIoT page with a ton of information there. You can reach out the team straight from that website, AspenTech.com.
Excellent. Well, I'll add all those links to the show notes just so people can find you nice and easily. I'd love chatting with you today, especially hearing more about the creation of this new category, industrial AI. I think we're going to be hearing much more about it throughout the year. But more than anything, Fred, just thanks for coming on and sharing that story with me today.
Thank you very much, Neil. It was a pleasure.
I love how AspenTech took on the approach of operationalizing industrial AI, including supervised and reinforcement learning for industrial customers. And their aim was to accelerate time to return on investment by creating this centralized AI hub, all with the mission to simplify data management and build self-optimizing plants of the future without the traditionally needed AI technical skill set. And yes, it is still incredibly early days for industrial AI, and there is still so much to learn. But I cannot thank Fred enough for talking about all these topics and speak about the challenges of this industrial AI category and the different players from startups versus legacy and the specific AI technical approaches required for Industry 4.0. But if anything we've talked about today has resonated with you and you've got your own stories, your own experiences that you would like to share, or if you've got any questions or you'd like to come on the podcast, remember, email me, techblogwriter@outlook.com, Twitter, Instagram, LinkedIn @NeilCHughes, and my website is techblogwriter.co.uk. So a big thank you for listening as always. I will speak with you all again nice and early tomorrow, but thanks for listening. And until next time, don't be a stranger.
Thank you for listening to the Tech Talks Daily Podcast with Neil C. Hughes. Remember, technology works best when it brings people together.